I told my son I couldn't keep fixing everything around his house. My shoulder was shot from 40 years of firefighting. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Then maybe you shouldn't have moved in if you can't pull your weight." I'm Robert Mitchell, 67 years old. Spent 4 decades running into burning buildings while everyone else ran out. Lost my wife Sarah 3 years ago to cancer. She was my everything. After she passed, I thought maybe it was time to be closer to family. My son Marcus had been asking for years. "Dad, you're rattling around in that old house by yourself," Marcus said over the phone last spring. "We've got plenty of space here. The boys would love having Grandpa around." He made it sound so simple, so welcoming. Marcus is a corporate attorney in Denver. Makes the kind of money I couldn't have dreamed of at his age. His wife Vanessa sells high-end real estate. Together they clear $500,000 a year. Easy. But Denver's expensive, and they wanted to upgrade from their 4-bedroom to something bigger, something that screamed success. "The thing is, Dad," Marcus said during that same call, "if you sold your place in Colorado Springs, and we pooled resources, we could get this incredible house in Cherry Creek. 7 bedrooms, 3-car garage. And get this, it has a completely separate in-law suite over the garage. Your own entrance, kitchenette, bathroom, total privacy." I'd been thinking about selling anyway. The house felt empty without Sarah. Her garden was dying because I didn't have her green thumb. Every room reminded me of her absence. "Your own space, Dad. But you'd be close enough to really know your grandsons. Jake's 9 and Tyler's 6. They need a grandfather figure around." That got me. I'd missed so much of their childhood already, working double shifts at the firehouse, then taking care of Sarah through her illness. Maybe this was my chance to make up for lost time. The house in Colorado Springs sold fast. $320,000. I gave Marcus $200,000 for the down payment on the Cherry Creek house. Kept the rest for my retirement fund. We shook hands on it. Father and son. Family. Taking care of family. I should have gotten it in writing. The house was impressive. I'll give them that. Modern construction, high ceilings, chef's kitchen. Vanessa had expensive taste. The in-law suite, though? That was still being finished when I arrived with my belongings in August. "Just temporary, Dad," Marcus assured me, showing me to a bedroom on the main floor. "Contractors say another month. Tops. You understand." I understood. I spent 30 years understanding that things take longer than expected. I could wait a month. The first few weeks were actually nice. I'd make breakfast for the boys before school. Jake liked pancakes. Tyler wanted eggs, but only scrambled, not fried. I figured I was helping out. Vanessa was busy with listings. Marcus worked 12-hour days at the firm. Having Grandpa handle morning routine just made sense. "You're such a lifesaver, Bob," Vanessa said, rushing past me one morning in designer heels and a cloud of expensive perfume. "I've got 3 showings today. Boys, listen to Grandpa." Then afternoon pickups started. "Dad, would you mind grabbing the boys from school? I'm stuck in a deposition." That was Marcus, calling from the office. "Vanessa's got appointments all afternoon," he added. "You're retired anyway, right? What else are you doing?" I bit my tongue. I'd been planning to meet some old firefighter buddies for lunch. We met every Thursday at the same diner we'd been going to for 20 years. But I canceled. Family comes first, right? By September, I was doing both drop-offs and pickups, plus homework supervision. Tyler struggled with reading. Jake had soccer practice Tuesdays and Thursdays, which meant another 90 minutes waiting in my truck by the field. The in-law suite contractors? Vanished. When I asked about it, Marcus got defensive. "These things take time, Dad. We're still waiting on permits. Plus, you seem comfortable enough in the guest room, right?" Comfortable? Sure. If you ignored that my room was right next to the laundry room, so I heard every load Vanessa ran at 6 in the morning. Or that it shared a wall with Tyler's room, so every nightmare, every early wake-up, I heard it all. But I didn't complain. You don't complain when family gives you a roof over your head, even if you paid $200,000 for the privilege of having that roof. October brought new responsibilities. The yard, 2 acres of lawn, landscaping, a sprinkler system that kept malfunctioning. I'd been maintaining my quarter-acre lot in Colorado Springs by myself for years. How hard could this be? Harder than I thought. My shoulder, the one I'd injured in a warehouse fire back in '03, the one I'd re-injured pulling a kid from a car wreck in '09, started screaming at me after the first day of mowing. "Looking good, Dad," Marcus called from the deck, beer in hand, watching me rake leaves. It was Saturday, his day off. I waved, trying not to wince. By November, I wasn't just the chauffeur and groundskeeper. I was the handyman. Leaky faucet in the powder room? Dad, you know how to fix this stuff. Garage door opener on the fritz? Dad, you're good with tools. Fence panel loose in the back? Dad, when you get a chance. I got chances. Lots of them. Between school runs and yard work, and helping Tyler with his reading and taking Jake to soccer and making sure there was dinner ready because Vanessa had evening showings and Marcus had client dinners. My shoulder got worse. I started buying the extra-strength ibuprofen, taking 4 at a time instead of 2. Didn't help much. The day I should have left was December 3rd. I was up on a ladder, repairing the gutter over the garage. Ice had formed and bent the metal. Marcus mentioned it might cause water damage to the new garage doors. $20,000 doors, he reminded me. So up I went. 70-degree day, which was lucky because climbing ladders in Denver winter is usually asking for trouble. I was reaching to pop the gutter back into the bracket when my shoulder gave out. Just quit. The pain shot down my arm like electricity. I grabbed the ladder with my good hand, nearly fell, managed to climb down one-handed while my right arm hung useless. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, waiting for the pain to subside. It didn't. I drove myself to urgent care. Torn rotator cuff. Not completely, but enough that the doctor said I needed to avoid overhead work and heavy lifting for at least 6 weeks, maybe longer at my age. Physical therapy recommended. "You're 67, the doctor said, looking at my chart. "You need to be more careful. This isn't going to heal like it would have 20 years ago." I knew that. I'd known it when I climbed the ladder. But the gutter needed fixing, and nobody else was going to do it. When I got home, arm in a sling, Vanessa was loading the dishwasher. She glanced at me, then at the sling. "What happened?" "Shoulder. Hurt it fixing the gutter." "Oh." She turned back to the dishes. "Can you still pick up the boys tomorrow?" "I've got a closing." I stared at her. "Yeah. I can still drive." "Great. Thanks, Bob." That was it. "No, are you okay?" "No, you should rest." Just making sure I could still fulfill my duties. Marcus got home late that night. I was sitting in the living room, watching some mindless TV, arm throbbing despite the prescription painkillers. "How's the shoulder, Dad?" "Doctor says torn rotator cuff. Need to take it easy for a while." He nodded, loosening his tie. "But you can still do the school runs and stuff, right? Just no heavy lifting?" "Marcus, I can barely lift a coffee cup with this arm right now." "Right. But that's your right arm. You drive with both hands anyway." He checked his phone, already distracted. "Because Vanessa and I both have critical things this week. I'm preparing for a major trial. She's got 3 high-value closings. We really need you to hold down the fort." "Hold down the fort?" Like I was employee of the month, not his father. "What about the fence?" he added. "Did you get to that before you hurt yourself?" I closed my eyes. "No, Marcus. I didn't get to the fence." "Okay. Well, when you're feeling better. It's just, the HOA sent another notice. We could get fined." He went upstairs. I sat there in the dark, wondering when exactly I'd become the hired help. The next 3 weeks were a special kind of hell. Physical therapy twice a week, which I had to schedule around school pickups. The therapist kept asking if I was resting enough, avoiding strain. I lied and said yes. I was still doing laundry. Turns out you can do laundry one-handed if you're determined enough, or desperate enough not to rock the boat. Still making breakfasts, though cutting pancakes one-handed is an art form I never mastered. Still supervising homework, driving to soccer, listening to Tyler read his struggling way through second-grade books. The yard I had to let go. Couldn't manage it with one arm. Marcus hired a lawn service, then complained about the $150 monthly bill. Dad, when you're recovered, we'll cancel the service, right? No point paying for something you can handle. Christmas was its own nightmare. Sarah used to love Christmas. She'd decorate our whole house, bake cookies, make everything magical. I couldn't do any of that. But Vanessa had expectations. Bob, can you get the decorations down from the attic? They're in the red bins. I've got one working arm, Vanessa. She sighed like I'd personally insulted her. Fine. I'll ask Marcus. Marcus hauled down the bins, then disappeared to his home office. I was the one who untangled lights one-handed while the boys ran around hopped up on hot chocolate. I was the one who hung ornaments, assembled the tree stand, crawled under the damn thing to water it daily. My shoulder screamed. I took more pills. 2 days before Christmas, Jake's soccer coach called. Emergency practice. Tournament coming up. Could someone bring Jake? I was at physical therapy. I left early, picked up Jake, sat in the cold for 90 minutes watching 8-year-olds chase a ball. When we got home, Marcus was standing in the driveway, arms crossed. Where were you? I needed you to sign for a package. Jake had soccer. You couldn't text me? I was so tired. I was driving. Whatever. It's fine. They left it with the neighbor. He paused. Hey, the fence guy is coming next week to give an estimate. Can you be here to let him in? What fence guy? To fix the panels. Remember? HOA notices? Since you can't do it yourself with your shoulder. Since I can't do it myself. Like it was my fault. Like I'd chosen to tear my rotator cuff fixing his gutter for his $20,000 garage doors. Sure, I said. I'll be here. I went to my room, the guest room, because the in-law suite was apparently never happening, and closed the door. Sat on the bed, looked at the pictures on my phone. Sarah smiling in her garden. Sarah and me on our 30th anniversary. Sarah in the hospital, weak but still smiling, telling me it was okay, that I'd be okay. I wasn't okay. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in January. Cold, gray, typical Denver winter day. My shoulder was maybe 60% healed. Physical therapist said I was making progress but needed to stop pushing it. I'd just finished dropping the boys at school when Marcus called. Dad, we've got a situation. Our water heater is making weird noises. Can you take a look? Marcus, I don't know anything about water heaters beyond the basics. Just look at it. See if you can figure it out. We can't afford to have a plumber come out for something simple. Can't afford. They drove a Tesla and a BMW. Vanessa's purse cost more than my monthly retirement check. But they couldn't afford a plumber. I looked at the water heater. 50-gallon tank, standard residential unit. The noise was coming from inside, like sediment buildup. Probably needed flushing. Should have been done during annual maintenance, which clearly nobody had scheduled. Flushing a water heater requires shutting off valves, attaching a hose, draining the tank. It requires 2 working arms and a healthy back. I tried. I really did. Got the valve shut off, hose attached, started draining. Had to kneel on the concrete floor of the utility room, arm throbbing. Got about halfway through when my shoulder just quit on me again. That same electrical pain, shooting down to my fingertips. I gasped, sat back, cradled my arm. The hose slipped. Water went everywhere, flooding across the utility room floor. I scrambled to shut it off with my left hand. Finally got it. Sat there in half an inch of water, breathing hard. Vanessa appeared in the doorway. What happened? There's water coming under the door. Hose slipped. My shoulder. Oh my God, Bob. This is going to damage the foundation if it seeps. Why didn't you call a professional? Marcus asked me to look at it. Looking at it and flooding the house are 2 different things. She was on her phone, probably calling a plumber now that there was actual damage. I sat in the water, defeated. That night, I was toweling off from a shower. One-handed showering is its own challenge when I heard Marcus and Vanessa talking in their bedroom. My room shared a wall with theirs. Thin walls for such an expensive house. He's becoming a liability, Vanessa said. He can barely do the things we need him for anymore. He's recovering. The therapist says another month. Marcus, be honest. Is this working? Having your dad here? Silence. Then Marcus. He gave us 200 grand, and he helps with the boys. Helped. Past tense. Now I'm coordinating school runs again, and we're paying for lawn service. And he just flooded the utility room. That was an accident. That's my point. He's old, Marcus. His shoulder's shot. What happens when something else goes wrong? When he can't do when he needs actual care? We didn't sign up for that. So what do you want me to do? I don't know. But this isn't sustainable. We gave him a room, and he's supposed to make our lives easier, not harder. We have enough stress without worrying about whether your dad can handle basic tasks. I stood there, water dripping off my hair, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, something quieter, something final. We gave him a room. After I gave them $200,000, he's supposed to make our lives easier. I'd spent 40 years running into fires. I knew what it felt like when a building was about to collapse, when the structure was failing and you had seconds to get out. This house was failing. Or maybe I was. Either way, I needed to get out. The next morning, I made breakfast for the boys like always. Jake wanted waffles. Tyler wanted cereal. I sat with them while they ate, really looked at them. Good kids. They deserved better than the example their parents were setting about how you treat family. Grandpa, will you take me to soccer today? Jake asked. Not today, buddy, but I bet your mom or dad can. After I dropped them at school, I didn't go home. I drove to the bank. My retirement fund still had $118,000 in it. Enough. More than enough. I spent the day looking at senior apartments. Found one in Lakewood, 20 minutes away. 1 bedroom. Ground floor. $900 a month. Community room, activities, shuttle service for shopping. Independence. The apartment manager said I could move in next week. I put down first month, last month, and deposit. Then I went to a storage facility and rented a unit. Drove back to the house while Marcus and Vanessa were still at work. Packed my clothes, my photos, Sarah's jewelry box, my firefighter memorabilia, everything that mattered. Took 6 trips to my truck. My shoulder was screaming by the end, but I didn't care. Left the furniture. They'd paid for the guest room set anyway. Another thing I'd heard Vanessa complain about when she thought I couldn't hear. I sat down at the kitchen counter and wrote a note. Kept it simple. Marcus and Vanessa, I've moved out. Not because of anger, but because I finally understand I was never a father and grandfather here. I was hired help who wasn't even getting paid. You took my money and my labor and my time, and you never once just wanted me. The boys deserve to know their grandfather as more than a chauffeur and handyman. When you're ready for that, you know how to reach me. Dad. I left it on the counter, right where I used to leave notes about what was in the fridge for dinner. Then I took off the house key Marcus had given me, set it next to the note, and walked out. Didn't look back. The first week in my new apartment was the quietest I'd experienced in 6 months. Nobody needed anything. No early morning laundry, no fixing, building, mowing, driving, just me, and the silence and my healing shoulder. I went to physical therapy without having to coordinate around someone else's schedule. Met my old firefighter buddies for Thursday lunch. Didn't cancel. Joined a poker game in the community room on Tuesdays. Started walking every morning. Gentle exercise, the therapist recommended. Marcus called on day 3. I let it go to voicemail. Dad, what the hell, you just left? We need to talk about this. The boys are asking where you are. Call me back. I deleted it. He called 4 more times that week. Then Vanessa called. Then Marcus showed up at my apartment on Saturday. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. Dad, come on, what are you doing? I'm living my life, Marcus. You can't just leave like that. After everything He stopped himself. After everything you what? I kept my voice level. Gave me? You gave me a room in exchange for $200,000 and full-time unpaid labor. That's not family. That's exploitation. That's not fair. We were helping each other out. No. I was helping you. You were using me. There's a difference. He ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. The boys miss you. That one hurt. But I held firm. I miss them too. You know where I live now. They can visit. We can have lunch. Go to a park. Be actual family instead of me being their employee. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. For the first time in 6 months, I stepped back. I'm not angry, son. I'm just done. If you want a relationship, a real one, I'm here. But not as your handyman, not as your nanny, as your father and their grandfather. I closed the door. He stood there for a minute. I heard him eventually walk away. 3 weeks passed. My shoulder got better. I played poker, went to lunch with friends, started volunteering at the fire department museum on Thursdays, helped them restore some old equipment. Light work, but meaningful. Then my phone rang. Tyler, Grandpa, can you come over? I miss you. My heart broke a little. I miss you too, buddy. But that's something your mom and dad need to say is okay. Dad! Tyler was talking to Marcus now. Muffled conversation. Then Marcus came on. He wants to see you. I want to see him too. Both of them. Silence. Then, can we talk? In person? I agreed to lunch. Public place. A diner near my old firehouse. Marcus showed up alone. We sat across from each other. Coffee cooling in white ceramic mugs. I talked to Vanessa. He started. About everything. About how we treated you. I waited. We were wrong. I was wrong. You're my dad, and I turned you into, I don't know, hired help. You gave us $200,000 and we just kept asking for more. You did. I'm sorry. He looked like he meant it. I got so caught up in my career, in keeping up with this lifestyle, in what Vanessa wanted. I forgot what matters. Your boys matter. Being there for them yourself, not outsourcing it to Grandpa. I know. He rubbed his face. We cut back. Vanessa's taking mornings. I'm doing pickups. We're actually parenting, instead of delegating. It's exhausting. That's the job. Yeah. He laughed, but it was hollow. I never thanked you. For all of it. The money. The help. Just being there. I took it all for granted. You did. Can we start over? Not with you moving back. I know that's not happening. But the boys need their grandpa. I need my dad. Not as a handyman. Just as my dad. I sipped my coffee. Thought about Sarah. What she'd say. She always believed in second chances. In family. Saturday mornings, I said. I'll pick up the boys at 9. We'll do something fun. Zoo, museum, park, whatever. I'll have them back by 2. That's grandpa time. Okay. And once a month, Sunday dinner. Your house or mine. We rotate. We sit down as a family. Actual family time. Not me cooking while everyone else is on their phones. Deal. And Marcus? I'm not fixing anything in that house. You can afford a handyman. You can afford a plumber. I'm retired. He smiled. Understood. We shook hands. Father and son. Different than before. Better boundaries. Harder one. It's been 4 months now. I see the boys every Saturday. Last week we went to the butterfly pavilion. Tyler held a monarch on his finger and his face lit up like Christmas. Jake told me about soccer, about school, about a girl he likes but won't admit he likes. Once a month we have dinner. Last time was at my apartment. I made spaghetti. Nothing fancy. We sat around my little table and actually talked. Marcus told stories about his cases. Vanessa talked about her sales. The boys were just boys. Nobody asked me to fix anything. My shoulder's about 90% now. Therapist says that's as good as it'll get at my age. I'm okay with that. I learned something these past months. You teach people how to treat you. I'd taught Marcus that I'd accept anything, do anything, just to be close to family. And he'd learned that lesson well. Now, I was teaching a different lesson. That I have value beyond what I can do. That love isn't transactional. That being family means respecting each other, not using each other. I think he's finally learning it. And if he doesn't, well, I've got my apartment, my friends, my volunteer work. I've got a life that's mine. I spent 40 years saving other people. Turns out the person I needed to save was myself. You have the right to rest, to be valued, to set boundaries. You're not just a solution to someone else's problems, not even if that someone is your own son. Especially then,